Welcome to the E-commerce Leaders Series podcast, the podcast dedicated to helping founders and operators navigate the world of e-commerce in the age of AI. I'm Eric, I'm your co-host, co-founder and CEO of Luca AI. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming Peter, the founder and CEO of Daysaver. You're going to see it's going to be a great conversation. Daysaver has reimagined one of the most overlooked products in cycling by designing compact, beautifully engineered multi-tools that riders actually want to carry with them. And today we're going to explore product innovation, premium branding, community building, e-commerce growth, all that good stuff. So Peter, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So for our audience who doesn't know you or Daysaver, can you tell us a little bit about your story and the origin story of Daysaver, please?
Sure. Well, I'm a marketing and communication guy by training. I used to work for quite some time for a Swiss advertising agency. And then I founded with my current co-founder, Daniel, we founded an agency in the field of user experience design and innovation consultancy. And we did there a very much user-centered approach to find out how products need to be, and that meant also digital products. And we did that for quite some time. I would say 14, 15 years. And Daniel has always been hardcore downhill biker. So he was into biking for, 20, 30 years. And one day he came up with the idea of a new tool that you can take with you on your rides. Mm-hmm. And we always said, it would be nice to do something with an actual product because we did services our whole life. And we thought, okay, let's look into it and use our user-centered methods that we usually applied for our clients and see if there's something to it. And that was actually the beginning of Daysaver back in 2020. Mm-hmm. So in the midst of pandemic. And in a nutshell, we saw that there might be potential. We found a partner to produce it in Switzerland at the time. We did a Kickstarter campaign looking for 40,000 Swiss francs, ended up with 120, and then saw, okay, we might have spotted something that people respond to. And that's how we proceeded until it got just too big. So, at the time it was a side business, more or less a hobby. And suddenly we had a warehouse in Berlin and a tax lawyer and all that stuff. And we said, okay, it's nice that things develop like that, but it's just too much work. So we had to decide either to stop or to, try professionally. And then we managed to close the first financing round by the end of 2022. And started working full-time for Daysaver starting 2023. And everything you see now in our shop, we more or less developed and launched in the past 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So that's the story.
I love those origin stories where actually it's dog fooding at the beginning, right? You're building something for yourself. It was actually going to be my next question, and you partially answered it, but the realization that it's not just a cool product, but it's actually a real business that you're building. It'd be interesting to touch a little bit on this growth trajectory that you've had over the last 6 years. And from the moment when you decided that this was going to become your main occupation and it became a real business, can you talk a little bit whether there's been steps in that journey since? Without divulging, what your top line is, but the early days, how did that look versus where you are today, and where do you think you're going to be, say, in a few years' time, and how that changes the way you manage the business, you view the business?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in the beginning, it's an idea, and you think you can solve an actual problem. I mean, that's the magic of every product and every service is solving an actual problem. And that's where you start. And I mean, after the first product launch via Kickstarter, we launched the second product, and that's where we realized two things. So that we developed a customer base that is willing to spend money with us more than once. That's an important insight if you want to build a business. And we learned, well, that's when we discovered our concept of modularity. I think that's what sets Daysaver apart from our competition, is that we build our products in a way that you can combine it, add something, take something away, depending on what you're up to on your bike. And we learned that with our second product, actually, which was a modular extension. And then we started thinking and said, okay, that could be a basis to build an actual range. I mean, one or two products is not enough to really start a business. But then we saw a strategy, actually. And that brought some other challenges, particularly the challenge of financing, because in order to develop a range, you need to, it's a pick and act discussion. So you need turnover and income streams, and at the same time you need to invest. So that's why we said, okay, we need some funding to bridge this gap between, okay, we just started as a side business, and now we're aiming for a professional setup. That was the first step, I think, where we realized, okay, how could it look like, let's say. And then the business transforms, the more products you have, the more turnover you generate, and at the same time, you're building a story, a story around the brand. What stands the brand for? And that's always an upfront investment. So we aim for, let's say, break even in probably 1 year's time. And then we have a brand vision that goes way beyond cycling, and that's where we hope to grow significantly. I mean, we'll never be a unicorn, We'll never have this dream hockey stick, but we have a decent regular growth, and we think if we can expand from the cycling market to closed markets in the wider outdoor, then I think we have a really nice potential.
Yeah. I mean, never say never. You don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But we do it for the fun of it, of course, but also to build a serious business. But it should be also, you should never forget your roots, where you're coming from. And that's what's part of Daysaver.
Right. So from one engineer to a marketing person, how much of your success comes from engineering versus branding?
That's a good question. I would say, in the beginning, a fair share of the success was due to the engineering and design concept of the product. I mean, that was, and still is today, the ticket to the party, because people, they understand, once they have it in their hands, they feel the haptic feedback of the quality of the processing and the thinking behind the product. But then again, in a mid or long-term view, that's just not enough. You need to, people respond very well to stories, and you have to tell someone what a brand stands for, and that needs to be more than a product. So I would say in the beginning, engineering and product design was really, really important. But now we feel the beginning of the shift towards more brands, I would say.
The storytelling, yeah, so important. Actually, good segue into, what do you think is the hardest part about creating what I think, am I right into saying, a premium product like yours in a crowded category?
You really have to believe in yourself and your vision and your strategy, because when you're building a premium product, you're looking for a premium customer segment, which exists in every country, but you need to find it. But the majority of people will always tell you, yeah, it's nice, but it's far too expensive. So you're really, and that's why I said it's so important to know which problem you solve and for whom you solve it. But I would say, not proving, but arguing why the price of a product, of a premium product, is justified. That's probably the hardest part, and then being persistent in, not giving up.
Yeah, very good advice. So one thing that I've noticed is that great products often spread through passionate communities rather than advertising. And for you, how important has the cycling community been to your growth?
Oh, they have been key to even the birth of Daysaver. I mean, if you do a Kickstarter campaign, a crowdfunding campaign, you need to somehow activate a community. So that's how we started, and that's what we trying to further develop and taking care of. Even today, sometimes I feel like we're not having customers, we're having fans buying our products. And I mean, that's not just them saying nice things about our products and us, but also really give good, valuable feedback about have you thought about that? And why didn't you do it this way? And that's super valuable. And I think, of course, online marketing is really important, but if you started with a crowd and a community, you need to stick to that, and that's what we're doing also with our ambassador program. And we cannot lose our community, definitely.
I mean, we were talking about this before we recorded the podcast, about the community building and how important this is. So drawing on your experience, the successful experience with Daysaver, and then your prior experience with the marketing agency, what mistakes do you think brands make when trying to build a community?
Oh, that's hard to tell. I think it depends a bit on what kind of community you're building. But I would say, I can't say what brands are doing wrong, but I can say what we learned, what is most important, and that's absolute honesty. I think you need to build trust. And sometimes, it's hard, and you have to swallow your personal vanity at some point, but people pay it back. So if you're honest, if you build trust, if you give people the feeling that you really care and that your intentions are good, then I think that's the most important thing when you build a community, in my opinion.
Great advice. We'll talk a little bit after the recording of the podcast. Maybe we can use some of your advice in the building. If you were to launch Daysaver today, what would you do differently?
I think I would probably try a bit earlier to shift the focus from products to brands. But I mean, with hindsight, that's always easy to say, because you first have to learn your lessons and then you can draw your conclusions. But that's one thing I see. I mean, fair enough. And I think not just me, also my co-founder, I think we would approach the building of the ranges of the products a bit differently. Maybe some products we wouldn't launch again, or we would do it in a different order with different priorities. But again, it's easy to say when you learn your lessons. So, but I think, yeah, and it's hard to answer the question also because we didn't start that business intentionally. So it just happened because we liked the idea, and in the beginning it was just drinking a beer, talking about an idea, and having fun. So it's not that we first developed a plan and then executed it. So, but yeah, I mean, you always learn.
You're making a lot of people very jealous by saying that you're founding product market fit almost accidentally over a beer.
Yeah, but I mean, we're constantly pivoting the product market fit because you start with one product, and I mean, we were completely newbies to the bike business. Then you learn about slight differences between different kind of bikers. So this product market fit looks always a bit different depending on whom you're talking to. So I think that's an ongoing lesson.
There you go. Yeah, everything is actually. I mean, you're constantly optimizing at the edges, right?
That's true.
Can we talk a little bit about customer acquisition? So it's changed obviously quite dramatically, and it's in the process of changing. It's going to look very different in a few years' time. You talk a little bit about for you your views on brand building versus performance marketing and where that sits within Daysaver.
Yeah, I mean, you always have to balance these two goals. You always have the pressure to go for the most and most efficient conversions. Obviously, you need to make money, but at the same time, you have to think, okay, what will bring our future customers in our shop and to our dealers? So I think you need to pay attention to both of them, maybe depending a bit on the stage that your company is. I mean, in the beginning, you have to spend your money on what brings money. And then there are other examples, just building on brands and then making money like that. But I would say that's the exception. And what we've learned and are now trying to implement is you spend a lot on the top of the funnel, to bring as many potential customers in as possible. And that's fine, you need that. But then once you have them, I think this customer relationship management is really important. So you paid a certain amount to acquire a customer, and then you need to figure out a way to make him a rebuying customer, and that's harder than it sounds. So yeah, I mean, this funnel discussion, we always have that. So how much money do you put in on the top funnel, and then how can you convert and retain customers? That's always a hard discussion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I can relate in our business. I mean, it's obviously very different. We're a B2B business on a subscription basis, and the subscriptions are 1 year, but literally day one of a customer interaction is focused on making sure that day 365 will result in a repeat, right? And that is 80% of what we do. It's 4/5 of our time versus 1/5 spent on acquiring that customer.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, yeah, obviously that's the most important part in your business model.
Yeah.
I mean, coming back to your question of how important the engineering is within a business, that's where the product and the product design comes into play again, because the moment people spend money with us and the moment they receive the products, that's probably the first decisive moment about are they going to buy again or not. So that's our external agent, so to speak, our products to prepare people buying again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Very good. Can we switch gear a little bit, just talking about operations? Because unlike other brands, you're vertically integrated. You're designing, and I mean, not even if you're not manufacturing in house, but you're still manufacturing bespoke product. So quite a complex business, and you're balancing R&D, design, manufacturing, inventory, e-commerce. I imagine you do wholesale as well, marketing, international distribution. So what are the biggest operational challenges you're facing today?
I think with more products, there is more complexity coming along. And that has a big influence of, let's call it supply chain in general. And when you see how the bike industry has changed in the past 4.5 years, earlier, I would say distributors or wholesalers, they tended to order twice a year, big orders, and then that's that. And that is gone forever. So they place constantly orders, but smaller ones. So for a brand, that means you need to be ready to fulfill orders constantly, which means, okay, so what kind of batches do we need to produce in order to make sure we can be ready to fulfill? And then you see the complexity. Since we're doing business worldwide, we have 3 warehouses. So you need to have at your producers a decent stock. Then you need to make sure to have decent stock in each warehouse, and in all geographical regions are completely different behaviors. And that's where AI comes into play, for example. So once you gain data about the behavior of your customers, be it D2C or B2B, then, I mean, you need to have good, clear databases, but then that's where AI can help us a lot in the future, because it's quite simple to implement rules. If that product has a threshold of X, then we need to order, and if our producers has a threshold of Y, then he needs to produce another batch. So earlier we thought we need to hire people to do that, but I'm sure we won't do that.
I mean, from an engineer, applied mathematician, I'll tell you that, yeah, predictive analytics. I mean, if you have historical data, and you should have about 6 years of historical data, that's enough to give you something quite robust in terms of a predictive tool. And there's probably quite a lot of margin and cash generation that you can optimize into all of this. But anyway, that's a conversation for a different day.
Absolutely.
Is there anything in particular as you're running the business that, like, one focal thing that keeps you awake at night?
Oh, there are many. And they change constantly, you know. When you're beginning, what keeps you awake at night is our products coming in time, and or the orders coming in time. Then a certain person in the US wakes up in the morning and thinks, I like tariffs, so let's do something with tariffs. And basically everything you build in terms of processes and all that stuff, and that keeps you awake for more than one night. But now I sleep quite well, because, you know, at some point you think, hey, we're doing whatever we can and we're trying our best. And then what you also need is a bit of luck. So I try to have my focal points during the day.
There you go. As a sidebar, and we're trying to stay apolitical here, but it's amazing how you would think that of all countries, Switzerland would be spared, but then he literally picked on you guys, right? For whatever reason. And that was insane.
Yeah, and I mean, without being political, I mean, that was a worldwide, let's call it challenge, because especially the bike and outdoor industry is heavily depending on Asian countries as production centers. And I mean, everybody who ever developed and produced a product, no matter where, knows that once you set up these processes and skills and the know-how, you just can't change that from one day to another. And even if you could, sometimes you don't get to choose. For example, in the bike industry, we've built know-how in China and Taiwan for the past 30 years. So try to find someone in Europe building proper carbon bike frames at a comparable price. It's just not possible. So that was, as you said, not just a shot for Switzerland. I mean, he picked on some countries, but I think in the end, now, in my experience, mostly US companies struggling the most with that kind of problem. But well, we'll see.
There you go. There you go. You can even reverse a red card, apparently, in addition to satisfy. So,
everything is possible.
So we talked about AI a little bit in your context of your company and the vertical integration and how that can help with inventory management and predictive analytics. Can you talk to us more broadly from an e-commerce point of view about where you see AI playing a role in the industry?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wish I knew. Well, I think, well, for one, depending on with which system you work, you're quite limited in terms of what you actually can do in order to prepare for the age of AI, let's say. We, for example, work with Shopify. So we depend heavily on Shopify providing the right measures and tools in order to be ready for that. But apart from that, I think it will have a big impact also on online marketing. So people are, doing research for products within LLMs. That raises questions of interfaces, etc., which is in our case solved, hopefully, because Shopify needs to take care of that. But then you have like product universes like Google, where you probably need to decide, but won't have a choice as a company, as a brand, whether to join or not, because the regular classical search engine user patterns are so established, and you already see it now with Gemini being implemented in some way. And probably every brand is doing Google AdWords and search engine optimization, and you just can't cut that. So once Google decides on offering some sort of AI-based purchasing environment, then you probably have to join as a company. That raises questions of dependencies. Where can we spend our money else? What are the alternatives? So that doesn't keep me awake at night, but it keeps me thinking. And obviously, I don't have an answer for that. But if you look a bit at the plans of Alphabet, yeah, probably will go in that kind of direction. So and that will change the business profoundly, I think. And for me, it also raises the question, okay, we were talking about brand building. So if you as a brand are being reduced to just data and prices, so how do you want to differentiate yourself from your competition? So I assume different touch points will become more important. So that's what I think about.
Yeah, I mean, the whole area of generative engine optimization is fascinating, right? Because we're kind of like laying the cards on the table flat, starting from scratch. Everyone is trying to figure it out, a little bit like what SEO used to be 20 years ago. I think like everything else, it's a risk. Like you risk falling through the cracks and never appearing on an AI search. There's also massive opportunity because small brands actually suddenly can rank higher than, LVMH if you do it right. But that's a topic from completely different topic. And it's maybe we can have another podcast in a few months and we can talk about that specifically.
That will be certainly a topic in a few months' time.
Yeah, exactly. Good. I have some rapid fire questions to finish the episode. If you're ready.
Sure, fire.
Premium pricing or volume?
Premium.
Good. Growth or profitability?
Profitability.
Okay, there you go. AI assistant or another full-time employee?
AI assistant.
Here you go. Kickstarter or traditional fundraising?
Well, from my current perspective, traditional fundraising.
All right, there you go. Fantastic, Peter. This was a great conversation. Thank you very much for your time. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. So did I. Thank you very much, Eric.
And for our audience, where can they find you and where can they find Daysaver?
They can find it in our shop, daysaver.fun, and in many, many bike shops around the world. So just look out for it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Peter, for your time. It was a great conversation, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you, Eric.